All right. We are back, y'all. We are back. And we've got the man himself on the phone with us. Dub FX, what's good, man?
How you doing, matey?
Very good. Very good.
What's up?
We've also got Molly Gruesome here in the studio, my co-host.
Hello. Nice.
Hello, how you doing?
Yeah, great. Thanks for calling in. We've been pretty psyched all night and really excited about the show on Friday in Toronto.
Brilliant.
Yes, it should be good. So how's the tour been so far? How do you like Canada?
Yeah, it's great. It's my second time here, and it's it's a really rewarding experience coming here. I feel like I can connect with the people. It's like quite a lot of conscious vibes, positive activity. So yeah, the tour has been great so far.
Nice. What do you think in comparison to how the scene is out in Australia, what it's like, the difference between being like, because you're probably really, really big out in Australia, are you not?
No, not at all.
No? Are you kidding me? Wow, people need to listen up to your music, man, because it is touching souls. Trust me, everybody that I've heard that or talked to that's heard your music is blown away by it. So people need to start listening more, definitely, man. Yeah,
well, you know what? At the end of the day, look, I've definitely got some people out there who are into my music, but the reality is, because I'm totally independent, right? And we do everything ourselves. We tour, we organize our own tours. We don't really do any press things, if anything. Like, the only people who actually promote us are the promoters who put us on in their clubs in their city. So they're the ones that are actually spreading our music to the local scene that they have at their fingertips and pushing me out there. So because it's not going through mainstream media, it only goes to where I am at the time, right? So
definitely.
And where I've spent most of my time is Europe. So I've spent 5 years traveling around Europe, making music on the streets and clubs and festivals and touring that scene. And so obviously my reach is only as far as where I'm at. So, I've done a small little tour through Australia, and I've done one tour of Canada. I didn't expect the turnout to be what it was last year when I came out for the first time in Canada. So obviously the music is definitely still spreading, even though I'm not here. Yeah. But compared to Europe, it's obviously I'm still working at it.
For sure.
But as far as your question goes about the difference between Australia and Canada, it's actually quite similar. So yeah, in all aspects, in fact.
Nice. What about some of the other music acts in Australia? Have you heard of Hilltop Hoods?
Yeah, absolutely. I used to love that. Well, I love those guys. Yeah.
Awesome. We did an interview with MC Pressure actually just a few months ago on the show here.
Yeah.
Wicked.
We love his music.
Just a lot of good, pure hip hop and good music coming out of there. So
well, that's it. The Australian hip hop scene is quite 90s sounding, if you know what I mean. And that's kind of my favorite style of music. Mm-hmm. I love, things like Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul, that old school, Jurassic 5 even. I just love old school breaks and funky bass lines. It's all about funkiness and soul. I find that a lot of the new hip hop that comes out these days hasn't really got much soul in it, so it doesn't really take my interest.
Awesome,
but
man.
Yeah, Hilltop Hoods have got loads of soul.
That's what we talk about quite a bit on our show, because we believe the same thing. There's a lot of new artists these days that are following the trends and not really sticking true to themselves, and just like you said, they've lost that soul aspect to it. So yeah,
absolutely,
man, we feel that, but we feel the soul in your music for sure. You got that music that makes people get the tingles and the goosebumps, man, for sure.
Definitely.
It is.
So what are some influence of yours? What has kind of inspired you yourself in music?
Influences? Well, everything, it's kind of, if you want me to pinpoint in terms of musical styles and stuff like that, I guess, I'm these days I'm more inspired by producers, electronic music producers, so drum and bass, liquid drum and bass producers like Caliber and Comics and New Tone and by contrast, and a lot of these UK sort of drum and bass heads that are putting out really soulful, liquid drum and bass, because I just love the tempo of drum and bass, and I love the smoothness that you can create with these fast rhythms and slow, warm, rolling bass lines. You know, that really gets me off. Same with rugged jungle and stuff like that. So I actually listen to loads of old school music, to be honest. Like, I love like 90s drum and bass and jungle and hip hop. And that's almost what I've consumed myself, because I didn't really get into that back in the 90s, right? I wasn't into that. I was obviously quite young, and I was going with the pop trends. And in Australia, we never really got much of a drum and bass jungle scene like they have in the UK. So by the time I started going out clubbing, it was more breaks, which I loved at the time, and techno. But then when I got to the UK, I realized there was all this other stuff that I missed out on. And so I've really kind of gone back, and that's where I draw most of my inspiration from these days. I mean, obviously, I still listen to loads of old school reggae music, like, you know, Bob Marley and and even all the Marleys, to be honest. And, you know, any music that's soulful. But, you know, I get inspired by bass lines and soulful and conscious lyrics, basically.
Nice.
Yes. And creating it. When did you come to start making the beats all by yourself, like doing everything with the pad and stuff like that? When did that come about?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like, it's been a long, lengthy process for me to get to where I am. I mean, obviously in the last 4 years, I guess I've found a comfort zone where I sunk into, but it all started with, basically, I was writing solo music. I mean, I was in heavy metal bands, I was in jazz bands, I was in hip-hop bands, reggae bands. I used to MC with DJs. They were playing house and break sort of stuff. Up until I was about 23, I was doing all of this. And then 2006, I then left Australia to go to Europe and to go street performing, and I didn't know how I was going to do it all, because I wanted to, basically, originally my plan was to have a backing tracks on like an iPod or whatever, play the backing tracks and then sing and play guitar over the top. But I'd written this one song which was all on voice. It was all my voice stuff. It wasn't actually much beatboxing. It was more just like harmonies and things. And I was looking around to see what I could use to do that live, rather than having a backing track, because I thought that would be a bit silly. And then I saw this dude called Mal Webb in Australia, and he does a whole show just with a loop station, no effects, nothing. I mean, he uses loads of instruments as well. But I remember him blowing my mind, and I'd never seen anything like it. So I ran out and got the exact same loop station that he had. And I didn't really have time to play around with it. I just had like maybe a month to figure out how it worked. And then I went off on tour around Europe by myself, like in a little van. And I basically learned how to do it on the street. And basically over time, I'd do my tracks with the guitar and the backing tracks. And then afterwards, when I'd finished run out of material, I would then go on the loop station and I'd do that one song that I'd written for it. But then I just started jamming with it as well. And I'd basically make a beat and loop it, and then sing and play covers on the guitar over the top of that. And I found that people really got into that more, because, you know, I was able to tap into what they were feeling in that moment. If it wanted to be a bit faster, I could do that. If it's a bit slower, I could do that too. So I was able, and people would come up and ask, like, was that, like, I'd do like a jam just with the microphone and no guitar and with the loop station. People would say, can I buy that? How do I get that? And I realized really quickly that people started to really enjoy the vibe of that. So, and I was obviously trying to sell as many CDs as possible at the time. So I'm like, okay, so I'll do more of that. And in a way, my audience kind of taught me what to do. You know what I mean? Like, you know, when people would all stop in the street and watch me, I'd be like, okay, I'm onto something here. And then if people would just leave and they weren't into it, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to ditch that tune. Or the way I do that tune, I'm going to ditch that. And so, you know, it's like I say, it's been like sort of a long, lengthy process of figuring out my strengths, and I guess the street performing totally trimmed all the fat, like, you know, because when you practice in your bedroom, you think, yeah, this is amazing, and then you perform it on stage and everyone's like, what the hell are you doing? My audience kind of taught me what to do, you know what I mean? Like, you know, when people would all stop in the street and watch me, I'd be like, okay, I'm onto something here. And then if people would just leave and they weren't into it, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to ditch that tune. Or the way I do that tune, I'm going to ditch that. And so, you know, it's like I say, it's been like sort of a long, lengthy process of figuring out my strengths, and I guess the street performing totally trimmed all the fat, like, you know, because when you practice in your bedroom, you think, yeah, this is amazing, and then you perform it on stage, and everyone's like, what the hell are you doing? You've got this practice room, and you're practicing to the general public, and the general public are the actual general public, not a bunch of drunk people who go out clubbing who happen to know that place or there to see the next band. It's the general public on the street. So once I understood at first I found it weird that people who weren't in the demographic that I wanted buying my CDs, like I wanted the young cool people, right? But obviously that's not everybody, and that's not everyone who enjoys that music as well. Like I realized that, everyone from all ages, from really young kids to really, old senile people would buy my stuff. So, it was a good experience, and it taught me a lot.
That's great.
That's awesome, man. That's good. I wish we had more time with you on the interview here. We're just finishing up our show, and I know that your cell phone's about to die, so we don't want to kill all the battery out of it.
That's all good. Kill it, man. Kill it.
But much respect, man. I look forward to opening up for you in Toronto. I can't wait to see you do your thing live. It's been beautiful to do this interview with you, man, for sure.
No problems, man. No, we can continue another day for sure.